Create a new React Native CLI project using npx command. Open project in your favorite IDE and start an Android emulator. You don't need to open Emulator at this stage, and later when you run npm start React Native will open one for you. Here I have already opened the project in Visual Studio Code and removed all the initial code. I have set up some initial code where I am using Placeholder API to get the data and storing it using the state using useState. I have already implemented some component like card and home component and their styles, which is not the scope of the tutorial. Install required packages React-redux and at ReduxJs/Toolkit. We can see these packages and their version in package.json file.
As we have already installed ReduxJs Toolkit and React Redux, now we are going to create a state and root reducer. So I'm going to create a new folder, state. Within that I'm going to create a new file, index.ts. It will contain our store and another file for rootReducers, which will contain our all reducers for the application. Now we can initialize rootReducer as combine reducers with empty parentheses and export default root reducers. Now we are going to install state, but this will contain all the resources for the application. So here we are going to create our first store on store, configure a store, and in here we are only going to pass our reducer for now, or we can just simply type root reducers. Now if you look at the documentation, we need to define root, state and dispatch types. So let's copy these two lines and paste it here. It's define root state, which we'll use later, and this one define app dispatch, which will contain the dispatch definition. Again we are going to use hooks component, so we need to dispatch via use app dispatch and select the component using the use app selector, because this will help in maintaining the consistency in the project. So just copy paste here, and we can just import our use dispatch using React Redux, typed using React Redux and React Redux. So all done, and we just need to export default stores.
Add created store in the app.tsx or root file of your project using provider. Import store from the state folder and provider from React Redux package. Create new file home.redux.ts. In this file, we can create an interface iHome reducer which contains two reducers, post list and post loading. Next, we are going to create initial state of the iHome reducer. Next, we can create slice using createSlice method from ReduxJs Toolkit library. We can give the name the same as the interface name or any other unique name. Define reducer section, which contains our actions for post and loading. Add home reducer to combine reducers in root reducer file.
Now we are going to create selector for our reducer. So we need to get another file, home.selectors.ts. We can simply const home selector. We can define our state. Now root state is defined in our state that we have already copied it here in root state, so that we know what exactly is the type of our state. And we can simply state dot home. Again export const post selector state of type root state, which return a state dot is simply return home selector of type state dot posts. We can copy this line and paste this for post loading selector, and we can change it to post loading. Now we have selectors ready to use in our application. We are going to use selector and the redux that we have created earlier to inject in our initial home state so that we can use it. We can use const dispatch is equal to use app dispatch that we have already created. For this loading and set loading, we can directly going to use const loading is equal to use app selector and the selector that we have already created, post loading selector, and here we can just paste it, and we can import it. Similarly, for all posts we can define const all posts use app selector. We need to maintain the consistency, and here post selector. So I'm going to just copy paste this. Post selector. Ultimately I have to type it. Now we don't have set loading, so instead of that we are going to use dispatch set post loading action to true. Here we are going to use dispatch set posts action to posts, and again dispatch these to false. Update the dependencies, and now we can remove unused, clean up a little bit code here. Seems all right. Let's run and see. Now let's run this application once again. npm start. And this loading and working perfectly like it was earlier using the state. Now we are going to implement a class component, and then we'll see how we can use the same code to load the same. So first create a new file within home. We are going to rename it class props, and here we are going to just use state root state. We can also use create a structure selector from reselect package. That will also work, but in this case we are just trying to keep it very simple. Is loading, and instead of loading we can also say is loading or whatever the name you prefer. post loading selector, and we can pass a state. And let's keep the name same for this one, post selector, and again a state. Let's get map const map dispatch to props. You can also create using another syntax which takes dispatch and app dispatch that we have created in space, and here we can return our set loading or set loading seems fine, and we can use our dispatch set post loading action, and we can use something like parenthesis arrow and each let's say loading to boolean, and here we can say loading and correcting the spelling mistake, and set all posts. So same thing here, with instead of loading we can say posts of post array, and set post actions posts import const connector equal to connect map state to props map dispatch to props. Now we can define type I home class props connected props type of connector that we have defined here, and we can use I home class props here connector to call our home class, and from here we can simply return this in here using public render const this dot props is loading. I think we have created, and all posts return it. Instead of loading we can use is loading. Inject going to use your component here connect, haven't imported it. You need to import root state. Root state will not work here. We need to import our root state from state index, and this root state we need to inject. So control dot and this one, and hope it works. Now just use home class in our app.tsx, and here we can comment this code out, and let's press npm start and press enter. But actually I haven't called this app. I made a mistake here, and I haven't called this dispatch, so no data is being pushed. We can use public component did mount. Again get to here, and we can copy this code. I think we can copy all the code here and paste it. Instead of set post loading action we can say set loading and dispatch this dot props dot set loading. We can pass it here as false and set all post. and get going to import get posts and just refresh the app, although it will, and now we can get this. So there's also some cleaner way to solve the problem in class component. Now with this seems very cluttered that we are going to use this API in component mount and then setting map dispatch to props. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put all our business logic in a different file, and so that we are going to create home dot dispatch dot ts, and with that we can put all our custom logic in home dot dispatch. So export const dispatch get posts, and we don't need anything, just return async, and we can just use dispatch app dispatch from state and try finally sorry finally the dispatch set post loading action to false. We can use catch if we want to. Console dot error just for the case, and not, I'm pretty sure our code doesn't going to throw any error, but control C control V and make it true. Const posts is equal to await get posts, and dispatch set post section to posts. And now we can simply use this in our class component. We don't need all of these now, even we don't need this and this, and just put get post home dispatch. We can clean this out, we can also clean this out, and we don't need any of this because we are already done it. And this dot props dot dispatch get post this way, and as we can see on the right side that our result is still the same. So in this way we can define our Redux selector and dispatchers in 3 different files. That's it. Thank you.